Right, so showing you where I'm up to in a minute. Got here at 10. It's 10 past 7 now. I'm still going to be here for a few hours. There's been a lot to do. So, neatened all this up now. So all these cables are just messy everywhere. One of these zones hasn't been labelled up, so they were all labelled up. Kitchen, living room, dining, hall, bath, and then this one had nothing on it, so I don't actually know what that does. So every job that's been done here there's no attention to detail. So the pump was too far away to get to that because the wire was just across here. So I've put a cable into a joint box, and that's now nice and neat there. We've got rid of this FCU now because we're not using that. I've just jointed that and blank plated it. So I've connected all this up now, all the zones and the right stuff. We've got a pump connection, and then we've got a valve. We've got one 5-core coming over here instead of that big massive cables all just across there. So we've got like the live neutral earth permanent supply coming in, and then we've got a switch live back to the boiler, and then we've got the switch live to the valve which is over there. So one nice neat 5-core instead of that mess. So there's my cable now. It comes down to here. So that's that bit taken care of. I've put a cable in now for the cut-off switch for the heat cut-off switch for the cylinder. So we've got this flex now, got some of the joint box down there, sticky clips on there just to keep it a bit neat around to here, and then we've got these 2 cores here. We use the 1 and 2 connection like I mentioned before. So as soon as this reaches temperature, it'll open that switch, and then it will turn the boiler out. It'll close the motorized valve, which is this one. So it'll open the switch, this will then close, and then it will turn the boiler off. So that'll be functioning properly and safely then. So that's in. We've just connected. I've put a whisker box here with stuffing glands in. So it's just a lot easier to, and there's a cord, it's a cord grip for the cables, so it stops the cables pulling out and stuff. So everything goes to here now. All the zone valves, 1, 2, 3 zone valves all go into there. We got the controller, the nest controller for the hot water and the radiators, just going straight into that. Then we've got our cable coming over from the UH8 there, which goes to this, and then we've got one 5-core that goes out to the boiler and into the boiler here, and then we've got a flex, an FCU flexed into here as well. This has ended up taking a lot longer because every accessory I've changed basically. So every joint box, every back box, and then the FCU plates and stuff. I've had the power off in the house just while I could change these things too. So it's been a lot more extensive than what we originally planned. I only came here to connect that up and fit the thermostats inside the house and program it. So this has turned into a huge job. So I'm just doing these joints at the minute here now. So everything will be in that whisker box. I've redone all the cables to the boiler and redone all the connections in there. This guy had some connections in here. Oh, hang on. This guy had some connections in here connected. So you got the main supply here, and then there was another 230 volt out, and then there was these 2 here for the control switch in the boiler. And he had some other cables wired into something else. I don't even think he knew. I think this guy's a plumber, I'm pretty sure he is. So I've took it out and redone it anyway. I've looked at the manuals online. Never used one of these. I've never worked on one of these Worcester particular ones before. These quite modern looking ones. Absolutely brilliant. Just everything's just screwless. So everything just pops off with clips. Brilliant. That cover just lifts on and then snaps at the bottom. You just push these 2 green things and it just lifts off, and you push these 2 green clips here and that just pops down, and then you push these 2 green clips here and then that just pulls up. So now we've disconnected everything up. as it should be. So I replaced the 5-core cable. Well, we disconnected like 3 or 4 flexes that were coming this direction. Disconnected the power supply from here, the second power supply, and we've just took it from the boiler position. Run a new cable into the pump as that didn't reach, and then re-terminated all these connections to the actuators below. Now this is all neatened up and connected up how it should be. When we've turned the power on to it, all the indicators are coming on as if every thermostat is activated. Now normally they don't all come on as consistently as that every time you switch it on and switch it off. You might get it be in the off position, not calling for heat, and then what will happen is one of the thermostats will eventually register that it's on. Then you'll get one circuit come on, and then it will activate the boiler, pump and hot water indicators as well. So that's a bad sign anyway. So the first thing, now we've got it to where we need it to be, I can actually start doing the job that I came here to do. So we powered it up, all the indicators came on, there was power to all these actuators, and the actuators opened. There was no power going out to the pump or out to the valve. These connections here were dead. So the connections have got a fuse protecting them. So we've got a couple of fuses here protecting certain connections and certain relays. So I've tested these 2 fuses here and they were okay. This one here has blown. He's wired power up to this incorrectly. Blown fuses potentially damage the circuit board in this, so we may have to buy another one of these if I look into this now and I find that this is damaged. So anyway, he's blown this fuse, potentially has damaged this circuit board, which we've seen before. So I need to get another fuse for this, and then we're going to have to turn this back on, but I'll just show you now how it's playing now anyway. In the way it is, situation that it is. So the power light would normally come on, and these boiler, pump and hot water are only activated normally when there is a call for heat, or there's a call for heat. So they would normally be off, and then these indicators would all be 1 to 8 would be normally off until the thermostat's been, it registers that the thermostat is calling for heat. So yeah, the fact that all these indicators are coming on straight away, from our experience, is not a good sign. So we've got, if I can put the voltage meter on there, we've got 230 volts there, 230 volts, yeah, consistently through all them. So all them are live and open these actuators eventually. Here, so if we go across live and neutral there, we've got nothing, and live and neutral we've got nothing, no voltage, which would indicate that this fuse had blown. So to obviously turn the power off, check the fuse, yeah, that had blown. So that's the first thing that we've come to. Once this is wired up correctly, the next phase of fault finding and trying to work out how, making sure everything is working properly. We need to make sure this is all functioning properly. Now first, before we tell the controls what to do, before we set up any programming of thermostats or anything like that, or even the system that he's got on at the minute, the Nest, we need to make sure that now we've got that up and running, I need to make sure the Nest thermostat's doing what it should be doing, which it wasn't before. And then we need to make sure this is doing what it's doing, and once that's okay, then we'll get the thermostats. We've got to pair them, make sure they're switching. We've proved all the actuators open and close now by putting current to them. So yeah, that's the next stage. So I've just been looking through the box in there, trying to find some more fuses to replace them, and I found three 3 more fuses that this guy has blown. So these will come with some spare fuses in here. So yeah, I've just done some tests on these with my meter, and all of them are blown also. So this is some stuff that has also been going on that we didn't know about. While he's been trying to install this stuff, he's been popping through fuses in the boiler and popping through fuses in this circuit board as well, which suggests there's even more chance of some sort of damaged electronics due to this. And what we said before, originally there was when I did this, there was voltage coming in which was activating the pump, and the voltage was coming in from bad connections over at the boiler. So he picked up a permanent live at the boiler, brought a permanent live into this, which is switch live out, not in, live onto that contactor, onto this connection to that relay, which then in turn put live onto that one, because these are linked together, which the pump was connected in, and then we're sending voltage to the pump. So even when we isolated the FCU here, there was voltage still coming in. This pump was still pumping because it was coming in, and that is a good possibility of the reason why, or how he could have blown fuses. If he's brought voltage, like a high voltage, in onto a connection that's not supposed to have that voltage onto it, or he's brought something in the wrong way and affected a relay, it could have popped a fuse through wiring things incorrectly. So that may be why it's popped a fuse. Right, so I'm just going to show you, see, some more issues. So they were talking about that fuse before being blown. So after looking a bit more, here's all the bits of stuff that the guys attempted to fit. So there's the first thermostat and receiver that was for hot water only. So he bought that, fitted it, and not realising you need to buy one that's hot water and heating. So yeah, the receiver you need, hot water and heating, has got 2 lots of connections on it. It's got a common normally open closed relay for hot water and a common normally open normally closed relay for central heating. The receiver that he'd got over there has just got the one set of common and normally open normally closed to switch one heating zone. So there's some more fuses. As I look through them boxes there, we found more fuses. So there's little either 800 milliamp, 5 amp, 3 amp fuses that he's popped through. So we've got a combination of pop fuses here, and the fuse that is protecting this relay, which is controlling these 2 sets of connections here, pump and valve. So that fuse there is blown multiple of them. He may have blown some of these as well, no doubt. And then also he has been going through 5 amp fuses out of here. So this little fuse in the boiler there, he's been popping through them. So, and then also he's been popping through fuses in the FCU, because we found on the floor 2, and there's another one over there. So 3 of them little cartridge fuses that go in the FCU. Sort of 3 amp. So there's 3 of these just on the floor, and I've put my test meter on them and they're all blown. So he's left little breadcrumbs for me to find everywhere. So he's gone through at least 3 of them to what I know, because I've seen them. When he's switched the power on, he's blown the fuses because he's got connections incorrect in here. And then when he's done that, he's blown fuses in this because he's got connections incorrect in here. And then when he switched this on, he's blown fuses in here and potentially here and here because he's got connections incorrect in here. So there's a massive risk of damaging all the electronics here, all the electronics in there, and any other sensitive electronics along the way as well. Could have potentially damaged any of this stuff, any of these switches in the cylinder, anything that's got some sensitive electronics in is at risk when you're popping fuses and overloading, so, you know, potential circuit board relays or whatever. So that's what the fuses are there for anyway, to protect. But, you know, enough of just switching a dead short every time you switch, you know, multiple times. It could potentially, there could be an over voltage that just damages some, there could be an overcurrent that damages, it'll pop the fuse, but it might just damage the sensitive electronics before it pops the fuse if you're unlucky. So what this guy done in here is that you've got the main connections coming in here. That's your supply in to the boiler, yeah, and then that goes in without even an instruction manual. You can see this is pretty obvious. Power comes in and it goes through this 5 amp fuse, which is protecting the main circuit board. So you can make the assumption without even looking at any instructions or wiring diagrams that that's what that is. But anyway, just look at the wiring diagrams, yeah, because it'll tell you exactly where to put stuff. So he'd put connections into there. He'd put this white connector here. Oops. That has got certain little grooves on it, on the end there, to make sure you don't plug it into the wrong connection. So we had stuffed that into that connection there that says 230 volts in. So he's also assumed that is a switch supply in as well. So we stuffed this, see if I can get it in. It's stuffed that into there like that, but as you can see, it's not in properly. So we'd stuff that in there, and then he'd also put a permanent live and neutral onto that, or a switch live and neutral, however he had it wired up, I don't know. So he had a live and neutral coming in here, he had a live and neutral coming in there, and then he had switch connections going to this. I think it was a live and neutral going to that. And that is your switch return for your hot water and your... It's got a picture of a tap and a radiator. So live return from all your control gear comes back to this point here and switches the boiler on. So I'm sure, yeah, I think he had a neutral connected in there, which is going to be the reason why he's popping fuses and everything. So this explains why this guy has popped so many fuses of what he's done. He's just absolutely chancing the control wiring. He's connecting it, not knowing what he's doing, and then just switching it on, blows a fuse, or I'll take the cable back out again and I'll put it in a different connection, blow a fuse, or I'll take it back out and put it back in again until it doesn't blow a fuse. But just because it wasn't blowing a fuse doesn't mean it was right. So he'd managed to get the wiring to a point where it wasn't popping fuses after he's attempted 7 times or whatever, and then left it, and it actually wasn't running and functioning the way it should. So just never seen anything like it. So anyway, that's why. So luckily there's no damage to the boiler. We have seen before electric boilers, one of our other videos, where they've got 2 electric slimline boilers on the wall doing 2 lots of underfloor heating. The electrician had blown both circuit boards on both UH8s, and he had blown one of the electric boilers up as well, doing this exact thing, putting 240 volts to a connection that's maybe 12 volts 24, a control circuit, or even 0 volts, putting voltage to something that's 0 volt connection, and then also, yeah, putting neutrals to positions that are just switch lives, things like that. So it's very easy to damage all this equipment, you know, and a new circuit board for that, I don't know what that would be, 500 quid, you know, plus your new 2 UH8s or 1 UH8, and potentially, you know, fried pump. You can damage a lot of equipment here, and it'll cost a lot of money to replace it. So that's what I found so far now with the pop fuses, where all the pop fuses have come from. I found them all on the floor, so I can see what he's been doing. So at the minute I'm struggling to get a fuse for this because it's Sunday and everywhere's closed. And these are quite specific, so you need like an electronics store to get something like this, but everywhere's closed. So that's what I'm with at the minute.